Right, as I was just turning that video on, I watched a guy nearly fall down the rocks. He's fishing. Fishing, wind and rain. Not fun. Not sure why he'd be bothering, to be honest. I was going to talk about parenting today because that's another topic I would like to talk about as far as, I guess, getting balance in parenting. But man, I'm going to tell you now, it's brought up another thing that I want to talk about instead, actually, which is adaptation to things, because I wanted to talk about parenting, but I want to be very, very clear that I don't think I'm the perfect parent. I don't know anybody who could be a perfect parent. I think we're all just winging it as best we can when we're trying to parent and create balance in our parenting and try and do the right things and the right amount of discipline, the right amount of love, the right amount of, the way we carry ourselves for our children to model and emulate that. It's all, I think it's one of the hardest things in life to really, really be good at. But I wanted Courtney to sit in with me to talk about parenting because we've obviously got slightly different perspectives on it, even though we're on the same page, but we learn off each other. And we adapt to each other's styles in parenting and life as well. That means that Teddy would have had to come in the car this morning, and Teddy woke up and he was just not having it. He's like, I'm not moving off my beanbag this morning. I just want my cup of milk and I'm not moving. And he absolutely cracked it. So Courtney didn't come with me and Teddy didn't come with me. So I'm not going to talk about parenting, but instead it sort of brought up for me adaptation, because I probably accredit my adaptation skills to Courtney, and also experience within small business and startups. Small business and startups, you could call it pivoting. General life changes, you could call it adaptation. If you look at it from a biological perspective, you could call it evolution. And a perfect example of that is like COVID, when people just had to adapt to staying inside, doing things differently, shopping online, using their phones for everything, QR codes, checking in. It just people just evolve and adapt to things and situations. And that's really important in so many aspects of life, especially parenting. As you can see this morning, Teddy and Courtney were going to come with me and talk about this stuff, and now they're not here. And I struggle with that sometimes. I'm like, I have a plan and I really struggle. I'm like, oh, this is what I wanted to do. So the adaptation process is a bit harder for me. But I had a friend say to me, when we went through our experience with illness and all that sort of stuff that we went through, is that, he gave me a bit of a motivational talk at the beginning, and he goes, look, you guys are going to do so well at this. I can tell just by talking to you, going through this process, how well you're going to do, because you adapt so well in the startup world and the business that you've had. You guys just adapt to life. Like we used to, when we had a startup business, in Courtney's first jewelry business, we used to do house sitting. So we would just move from one place to another. We'd move down the Gold Coast and live there for a couple of weeks. We'd move up the coast and live up there for a couple of weeks. And it was all to help us save money and bootstrapping a startup at the same time of getting to sort of travel around a bit and do things a little bit differently. And we adapted to that process well. So, the first thing with adaptation is obviously accepting the fact that things aren't going to go your way. And like I said, that relates to business, it relates to life, it relates to health, it relates to a lot of things. And when you're faced with something like, oh, you're going to have to stop working and you're going to have to basically be in a hospital bed for 3 months of this year, you're not going to be able to do this, you're not going to be able to do that. You can try and work if you want to. Some people can, some people can't. It was hard for me because they escalated treatments, which just, I could barely move off the couch for a week at a time. And at the same time, the parenting kind of link here is that Courtney was pregnant at the same time as that was happening. So she had to adapt, went on maternity leave, had no wage either. There was a period of over 12 months where I was longer than that, probably close to 18 months where neither of us had an income on a solid wage, and we had to adapt to that situation the best way we could and get by. And then, the parenting aspect of it, finding balance there when you're going through that type of situation and then you become a parent at the same time, it's a whole different kettle of fish. But, you know, we dealt with it, we adapted to it well, and I can honestly say, getting back on the parenting topic, as hard as it can be at sometimes, I think it's the best thing that ever happened to me, and I honestly, wholly and truly believe that. And like the moment that Teddy came out, I can honestly say was like the best moment of my life. And I don't know if my perspective on that's a little bit different, because there was a period of time where I never thought I was going to meet him, and then also first 2.5, 3 months of his life, I barely saw him. I was in a hospital bed, laying on my back, and he wasn't allowed to see me. I could only see my newborn son for like the first 2.5 months via FaceTime. And then the first time I got to see him after like 2 months was when I was in ICU, because they basically had to come say goodbye. So every single moment that I have with Teddy, as hard as it gets, I need to be present and find balance in those moments of being like, hey, now he's 3 and he's pretty wild, nearly 3, pretty wild. He can frustrate the hell out of you sometimes, but I'm like, I need to take appreciation in this frustration, because there's a high chance that I would have never experienced that frustration as a parent. And, you know, it's weird when you go through stuff like that. So many people said to us before we had a child how hard it was, how hard it is being a parent, how much it sucks. You lose your life, you lose your sleep, you lose this, you lose that. You don't have balance in your life. But we had a different perspective on that because we went through such a tough time. So that child to us was like, he was a goal. He was a goal for me to achieve my wellness. He was a goal for Courtney to stay relatively stress-free through that situation and be happy and not affect him in the womb at the same time. And, you know, then once he came out, he was just our world and he was our life. And to be honest, we were probably, you know, out of balance with our parenting in the first, 12 months. We were with him every single day, both of us, for close to 12 months. I don't think I went away from home to do any type of work until at least 18 months to 2 years after my treatment. It was probably 18 months, I'd say. And that was hard for me, to leave that day to go to meetings and do things. I was like, oh, I've been with this child every single day, every moment of the day for like close to 18 months. So we were probably a bit of out of balance there. And then you throw things like a pandemic in the mix, where he didn't really get to socialize with a lot of other people and children for like a 6-month period when we had our first lockdown. And then we would have people visit, and he'd go and crawl and hide behind the chair and cry and freak out because he hadn't seen other people. So we had to sort of balance our social life to make sure that we got him out in front of more people and around more children. And that was at a risk to me during a pandemic because I had no immune system. But, like I said, we just had to adapt to it. So I'd like to do another video on parenting, and Courtney and I can talk about some of our ups and downs in our struggles and how we create balance in our life with parenting. And it's not easy. Like I said, talking about how you discipline your child, how you treat them, how you talk to them. They model you. And, a lot of this coaching work that I'm going through at the moment is talking about ways that I've modeled my parents and things that I like and don't like about what I've modeled from them. And because Courtney and I have done that type of work of knowing, where our personalities come from, what our personalities are like, and the reason we get happy or the reason we get sad, a lot of that is modeled from early childhood. So we're trying to constantly be conscious of that when we're parenting Teddy. And we fuck it up. We fuck it up every single day of the week. Excuse my language, but there's days where you're just like, oh man, like, I don't know, I'm just going to do the bare minimum to get by and survive. But the days that are good, we shower that child in love as much as possible. Like sometimes we kiss and cuddle and smother that kid until he's like, tells us to go. He's like, enough. Stop touching me. Stop kissing me. I don't want you to touch me anymore. Leave me alone. And then we're, the balance to that is we're a bit free range. We're a free range with a lot of stuff. That kid probably does a lot of dangerous stuff that he probably shouldn't do for a child of his age. He climbs up on the couch and he jumps right off the top, and he climbs up on playgrounds and he jumps right off the top. And we just clearly communicate to him, that's your choice to do that. He's not even 3 yet. That's your choice. He's going to learn the consequences. Obviously, we don't let him jump off something we know is going to break his leg or break his neck if he does it. But we let him be curious, like dangerously curious, as safe as possible. Like when he was 2, we went up this national park up the Sunshine Coast, and he did a rope swing that was like 2 meters off the water. And, we were there with, our family, George and his cousins, Teddy's cousins. And Teddy's like, I want to do the rope swing, in his little 2-year-old voice. And we're like, all right, put your floaties on, do the rope swing, we'll see what happens. And he did it, and he nailed it, and he absolutely loved it. And that part of parenting, having enough balance to be like, hey, I'm going to let you live dangerously enough so that moving forward in your life, you're able to take risks, you're able to make a decision to be brave, all those types of things. Because, when you counteract the balance to that and go to sort of like that, I guess people call it helicopter style, where you watch everything they do and make sure they're cautious about everything they do, which I think is a little bit of the type of parenting that I might have got. I'm not sure, Mum, you can probably clarify that for me, but I think it is, to be honest. I've struggled in life to be brave. I've struggled in life to take initiative on things and go into risky situations. I've always had to build myself up to it, and I've been introverted in that way. And I feel like I don't want that for Teddy. I want him to be calculated. I want him to be risk adverse, and I want him to be able to make risky decisions, to take risks in life, to better himself as a person. And I feel like I said, a lot of that happens at this modelling period of your childhood, really, really, really early. But yeah, I'll leave it there, because I'd like Courtney and I to give our perspectives on this one day, and maybe Teddy can be involved and see what he thinks, because he talks pretty well. So that's it for me. And talking about adaptation, see all the bruising starting to come out. My shoulder now, it's pretty sore. So another thing that I had to adapt to. So I made the decision when this happened, went to the hospital to get x-rayed, came home that night, struggled to sleep, in a lot of pain, and I thought, what am I going to do for 3 hours a day that I usually exercise for and not go absolutely mad, because I had so many goals I wanted to achieve with fitness and grappling, jiu-jitsu and all that sort of stuff. I'm like, well, I'm just going to spend, even if it's just 6 weeks, just getting this information out. So I want to get out, and I don't, if you like it, you like it, you don't. I'm just putting it out for something for me to do, and I'm hoping that the information is helpful for somebody else. But it's something that I feel like it's basic stuff that, people, talk about themselves, hear themselves every single day. But, maybe people don't talk about it enough. Maybe people don't talk about the balance in their life enough. Maybe there's basic tips on how I balance things and how I live my life in my relationship that you might not be doing that improve yours. Or you might think it's silly and I don't really care. But that's just me. So I'm spending this time to basically take up this healing time, and we'll just see where it goes. Thank you very much for tuning in, and I'll talk to you soon.